Shock result for ultra-nationalist candidate forces Polish runoff recalculations, because you remember how I said on the election day during when the election silence was ending, that Grzegorz Braun did not do super well, probably, that he got like a few percentages at best. He just did not do super well. Well, it turns out that I miscalculated. Grzegorz Braun, the Star Wars aficionado, the fire extinguisher wielder that fights against Hanukkah, the Christmas tree tackler that hates Ukrainian decorations, he actually got to the, I think, 4th place. He got 4th place in the presidential run. He got over 6%. Who was he 4th or was he 3rd? If he was 3rd, that would be embarrassing. I think he was 4th. The first person was, yes, he was 4th. 1st place Trzaskowski, 2nd place Nawrocki, 3rd place Mencen, another lunatic, and then Grzegorz Braun at 4th place. Like the biggest lunatic of them all, got 4th place in the presidential first turn. It's just embarrassing and sad. It just speaks so many bad things about where Polish people are at, I guess. Is that good or bad? By good, I mean, is he too crazy to collaborate for a right-wing coalition? I mean, this is a presidential election, so we're not talking really coalitions, are we? Like, maybe he will, maybe by some twist of fate he will decide to support Nawrocki, the law and justice candidate, and transfer his votes to him, but I'm not so sure. But the good news is that Mencen apparently said that he would not be supporting Nawrocki. No one saw it coming, but ultra-nationalist Grzegorz Braun's 4th place finish is the first round of Poland's presidential election with 6.34 has taken him from extremist outsider to a figure with real leverage in the 2nd round. Yeah, there will be runoffs. His result wasn't predicted by the polls, and he wasn't taken seriously by rivals, but with 1.2 million votes, Braun's rise is the biggest structural shock of the campaign so far. Now both liberal centrist Rafał Trzaskowski, backed by the governing Civic Coalition, and the conservative Karol Nawrocki, supported by the opposition Law and Justice, need to reckon with the voters he's brought to the table. You know, like, what kind of voters vote for Grzegorz Braun? I'm pretty sure that just people that decided, I'm just gonna vote for him for the memes or something, like, or very radical lunatics. I don't know of a single actual positive policy of Grzegorz Braun. I only know his lunatic opinions on everything. A campaign like no other. Braun ran on an ultra-nationalist Catholic. Braun ran as an ultra-nationalist Catholic candidate whose tone was openly anti-Semitic, anti-Ukrainian, and monarchist. He wants Jesus to be officially crowned as King of Poland. Okay? Take that into let that sink in. The guy that wants Jesus to be officially crowned as King of Poland won 4th place in the presidential first round. He campaigned on themes that would be politically suicidal for most candidates, suggesting that in vitro fertilization is from hell, calling for Poland's withdrawal from the European Union, denying the legitimacy of post-Vatican II Catholicism, and demanding the abolition of income tax. Yeah, but I don't think Trump is as nearly as crazy as Braun. Like, I don't think even that Trump is as nearly as crazy as Braun. His program included legalizing the widespread carrying of firearms, shutting down public health institutions that promoted vaccines, and imposing a total ban on abortion. I guess, yeah. Braun has officially condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but routinely echoes pro-Kremlin narratives, accuses the Polish government of stoking war hysteria, and calls for an end to military aid and to sanctions. Oh yeah, so definitely he is anti-war. An anti-Semitic rant he unfurled in front of Trzaskowski in a televised debate was one of the most viral moments in the campaign. It would have been the end of most campaigns, but his voters lapped it up. Who voted for him? Yeah, who voted for him? I want to know. Far-right Polish MEP causes anger by spray painting over LGBT exhibition. Braun's voters weren't who the mainstream expected. The image of a fringe candidate appealing to angry pensioners or confused extremists doesn't hold. Exit polling data shows a bloc that is middle-aged, mostly male, and concentrated in rural areas. Over 57% of Braun's voters were men. More than half were between 30 and 49 years old, with his strongest showing nearly 10% among voters aged 30 to 39. He performed less well among the youngest and oldest, polling at 5.3 among 18 to 29 years old and only 2.9% with voters over 60. Yeah, demographically, Braun's base was rooted in the conservative southeast. Wow, no way. He scored over 9% in the Podkarpacie and Lubelskie provinces and nearly 8% in Świętokrzyskie. Nationally, nearly half of his votes came from villages. Well, that does not exactly surprise me either. Like, usually the cities in Poland are much more progressive and the villages are much more conservative. His support dropped sharply in large cities, down to 3.9 in those with over 500,000 residents. This was a rural vote, but not an uneducated one. A third of Braun's voters hold university degrees. Another 44% have secondary or vocational education. Oh my god, it's so depressing. People with a university degree voted for Grzegorz Braun. I just cannot come to terms with it. That the guy that screams about the Ukrainization of Poland, that Jewish people are in charge, that Poland has no sovereignty anymore, and that it's people with university degrees voted for this guy. Political journey. Braun didn't emerge overnight. His fourth place finish was the payoff for decades spent building a political identity in the outer orbit of Poland's far right. I'd not even call him far right. I would call him far right. In the late 1980s, he was part of the Orange Alternative movement in Wrocław, a surrealist protest group that fought communism with absurdity. But while his peers moved into liberal or conservative politics, Braun took a different path. He became a filmmaker, producing documentaries that challenged the official version of Poland's post-communist history. His films accused Solidarity chief Lech Wałęsa of collaborating with the communist secret police, portrayed strongman leader General Jaruzelski as a Soviet pawn, and warned about modern science and liberal values as threats to Polish identity. His documentaries, huh? By the 2010s, Braun had stepped fully into political life. First with failed Senate runs, then with a presidential bid in 2015, where he scored less than 1%. In 2019, he was elected to the lower house of parliament on a Confederation ticket, and in 2024 he won a seat in the European Parliament, which is embarrassing in its own right that he is a member of the European Parliament, even though he wants Poland to exit the European Union. In 2019 he founded the Confederation of the Polish Crown, a monarchist splinter party that eventually became part of the broader Confederation alliance. But Braun never softened. He dashed with allies, denounced compromise, and openly floated conspiracy theories about Jewish influence, Freemasonry, and the Vatican. When he was expelled from Confederation in early 2025, after announcing his solo presidential run, it wasn't a surprise. Braun's controversies. Oh yeah, he has quite a few. I guess I'll comment on them as they are brought. What set Braun apart wasn't just the extremism of his message, but the frequency and intensity of his provocations and the failure of institutions to contain them. Over the past 5 years, he has become a permanent source of scandal in Polish public life, not by accident, but by design. In December 2023, he stormed the Sejm, the lower house, with a fire extinguisher. I was at the mental hospital at the time when I heard that happened. There was a Hanukkah was happening. And doused the candles of a Hanukkah ceremony held to mark the Jewish Festival of Lights. The act drew universal condemnation across party lines. He was expelled from parliamentary proceedings and later stripped of half his salary and his entire MP allowance for 6 months. Since then, the fire extinguisher has become his symbol, with supporters brandishing them at his rallies. So yeah, he's one of his most famous moves was extinguishing the Hanukkah candles with a fire extinguisher. My mom actually attended one of the Hanukkah meetings in the in Sejm, in the parliament. Not the one that Braun crashed, but she did attend. At a lecture by Holocaust historian Jan Grabowski in 2023, Braun stormed the stage, ripped the microphone from its stand, and smashed the speaker system in front of a stunned audience because talking about the Holocaust is wrong, okay? Talking about any involvement of Polish people in it is wrong. That's why he had to smash the microphone. Last year, he interrupted a Holocaust commemoration in the European Parliament and was suspended for a month. This April, he and a small group entered a hospital in Oleśnica, southwest Poland, where he locked a gynecologist in her office and staged a religious protest against abortion. I should explain that one. There was a very controversial abortion in the 9th month because the child had a really rare disease that made the bones super brittle. The child would have been born with basically all of its bones broken and would apparently not have survived long after birth, so an abortion was done. And so Braun decided to do an intervention and held the doctor trapped in her office, in her room for like an hour or so and called the police. That's the context of this whole mess. Prosecutors opened multiple investigations and the lower house voted to strip him of his parliamentary immunity, something that had long protected him. By the start of his 2025 campaign, Braun was facing 7 criminal charges in Poland and disciplinary action in Brussels. He had been expelled from his own party, removed from the Confederation leadership, and blocked from most media platforms. None of it mattered. The punishment fed his persona. His supporters saw each sanction as proof of persecution. Like, yes, Grzegorz Braun, the most prosecuted man in politics. And also 4th place in the presidential election. Braun has not endorsed either candidate in the second round runoff and likely won't. For Trzaskowski, Braun's voters are out of reach. Any move towards them risks fracturing his liberal base. For Nawrocki, there is an ideological overlap, but the association is toxic. An association with Braun, I mean. For any even pretty far-right figure, association with Braun is in fact toxic. The 1.2 million who backed Braun won't decide the winner on their own, but they will be part of it. They've widened the right and pushed the limits of what is normal in Polish politics, and that is the most depressing thing of all. That attacking Christmas trees for Ukrainian decorations, extinguishing Hanukkah candles in the parliament, trapping doctors for an hour, smashing microphones during a Holocaust speech. That just, that just became the norm in Polish politics now. So we have to just embrace the fact that the scope has been widened and we need to brace ourselves for the second turn of the presidential election, because I'm actually pretty nervous about it. I'm nervous that the liberal candidate will lose and we'll get a far-right loon again as president.